Black Widow should have been well into our rear view by now, alongside several other MCU Phase 4 flicks, but the COVID-19 pandemic delayed the film, leaving us with a big screen drought. But now, the movie's new release date is finally fast approaching. Here's everything we know about Black Widow so far. Black Widow had an original premiere date of May 1st, 2020, but it was pushed back 3 times as theaters remained closed across the globe. The Scarlett Johansson-led flick was moved to November 9th, 2020, then again to May 7th of this year. Fans were further disappointed when it was announced this March that Black Widow would be delayed one more time, this time to July 9th. The movie isn't expected to shift again, as things are finally looking up regarding the ongoing global health crisis. Most theaters in the United States have reopened, and mask mandates are being lifted as millions of Americans are getting vaccinated. For those still feeling unsafe about heading back out to the movies, Black Widow will also be available to stream on Disney Plus the same day that it's in theaters. Subscribers to the platform will have to shell out extra cash to watch the movie, as it will only be accessible via Premier Access for $29.99. Black Widow is a prequel story for Natasha Romanoff, taking place between the events of Captain America: Civil War and Avengers: Infinity War. We know that some of Team Cap are on the run from the United States government at this point in time after Steve Rogers broke his pals out of the Raft prison. While Natasha was famously on Team Iron Man, she eventually found herself in the middle, as she aided Steve and Bucky in their escape from the airport battle in Germany. Unfortunately for her, Black Panther told Secretary of State Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross about what Natasha did, forcing her to leave the Avengers and go on the run. Then, in Avengers: Infinity War, we learn that she eventually linked up with Steve and Sam Wilson, and the trio helped rescue Wanda Maximoff and Vision at the train station in Scotland. As for the 2021 film, Black Widow is expected to explore the missing chunk of Natasha's life between these two films, which eventually sees her join up with Steve and Sam. Natasha Romanoff will link up with some of the most important people from her past in Black Widow. This will include her surrogate family members Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, Melina Vostokov, played by Rachel Weisz, and Alexei Shostakov, aka Red Guardian, played by David Harbour from Stranger Things. From the trailers, it looks like Yelena is going to be the biggest supporting character of the bunch, serving as Natasha's sister, who is also trained in the Red Room. Yelena is a spy just like her sister, and she's also gone by the Black Widow moniker in the modern era of Marvel Comics. Many are suspecting Pugh's character will become a bigger presence in the MCU after Black Widow, given her character's rich history in the comics and due to the fact that she's set to appear in the upcoming Hawkeye series on Disney Plus, according to the Direct. Melina and Alexei are mother and father figures to the girls, but they aren't their biological parents. Both are also highly trained and skilled in combat, which was apparent in the trailers, despite Alexei putting on a little bit of weight since his glory days. But as for what we know about their comic book origins, Red Guardian first showed up in 1967's Avengers number 43, where he was the Soviet Union's answer to Captain America. Weirdly enough, he was originally Black Widow's love interest, although that's obviously changed for the film. As for Vostokov, she goes by the name Iron Maiden in the comics, and she made her first appearance in 1983's Marvel Fanfare number 11, where she was incredibly resentful of Black Widow's legend and eventually became her sworn enemy. There are a few other stars who've joined Black Widow in some pretty noteworthy roles. For example, Ray Winston will portray Dreykov, a name MCU fans might remember from the Avengers, when Natasha Romanoff is trying to lure information out of Loki while he's imprisoned on the helicarrier.
Can you wipe out that much red? Dreykov's daughter?
The mention of the name makes Natasha go wide-eyed, instantly letting viewers know the mystery man is bad news from her past. And from the Black Widow trailers, we've learned Dreykov is the superior of Taskmaster and oversees the notorious Red Room. Additionally, O.T. Fagbenle will be playing Rick Mason, someone we assume is pretty important given he was honored with his own character poster for the film. Rick is one of Natasha's only allies, and he apparently has a romantic interest in her. Anything else we can expect from Rick in the movie is a mystery, but Fagbenle commented on the character in an official Black Widow movie book, saying, "Mason is a finder for people who aren't so affiliated with armies, like people who are part of the underworld. He can find anything you need as well." He's had a relationship doing that work for the Black Widow, and they have a bit of a vibe going on. There's a sense that there's more to their relationship than it being purely work-related, so that's always in the mix. The talent behind the camera on Black Widow is just as impressive as the talent in front of it. The MCU film is directed by Kate Shortland, who's mostly known for her films Berlin Syndrome, Lore, and Somersault. Black Widow is easily Shortland's biggest feature to date, given its $200 million budget. Plus, Jack Schaefer and Ned Benson make up the writing team of Black Widow, marking the second official MCU project for Schaefer. The writer famously penned all 9 episodes of WandaVision, which was praised by critics and fans alike. Black Widow marks Benson's first project with the MCU, and it's the newest addition to his rather short Hollywood resume. The writer is mostly known as the scribe and director of The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. While we know the aforementioned Dreykov is going to be playing an important role in Black Widow, the movie's true villain is Taskmaster. Somehow, after leaks and multiple release date changes, the identity of Taskmaster is still a mystery. But fans definitely have their theories on the masked baddie's real name.
Who the hell is that guy?
First appearing in Avengers number 196, Taskmaster was a former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent turned assassin whose birth name was Anthony Tony Masters. Taskmaster has the ability to mimic any opponent's combat skill, which almost always gives him the upper hand in a fight. However, we're not expecting the Black Widow Taskmaster to be Tony Masters, but rather someone Natasha already knows. This person appears to be some sort of Russian agent who's also in charge of the Red Room, and we're suspecting it's someone we've already seen in the MCU or possibly one of the newcomers we meet in Black Widow. Is it Rachel Weisz? Could it be O.T. Fakbenley? We'll find out soon enough. So, Taskmaster's whole thing is mimicking the moves of other superheroes, like this cool Spider-Man web swing, and by watching the trailers, we've discovered that the big baddie has been doing his homework. In one of the trailers, we watch Taskmaster wield a bow and arrow, kinda like a certain Avenger we all know and love. He's even got Black Panther's claws. It also looks like he's learned a few moves from Captain America, with lots of shield work on display. Taskmaster also mimics a famous Natasha move, flipping up on one hand and one knee from a supine position. How he learned her move is a mystery, but Natasha definitely has her work cut out for her if she's essentially fighting herself. Based on the trailers, we know Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross will be showing up in Black Widow. William Hurt appeared to be de-aged in his brief trailer appearances, which makes sense given the last time we saw him was at Tony Stark's funeral in Avengers Endgame, which was set in 2023. Given the timeline of Black Widow, Ross will be around 7 years younger. What exactly his role is in the new movie remains to be seen, but he could be trying to track down Natasha after the events of Captain America: Civil War. Tony Stark is also expected to make an appearance in Black Widow based on a report from Deadline back in 2019. Downey's cameo in the movie is expected to be just that, so fans shouldn't expect much of a storyline from the now deceased hero. Someone else we expect to show up in Black Widow is Contessa Allegra de Fontaine, who we met in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. According to Vanity Fair, Valentina was first set to appear in Black Widow, but with premiere dates being pushed back due to the COVID-19 pandemic, things had to change. Whether Val will appear is still a mystery, but we know Marvel Studios does have big plans for her moving further into the MCU. With Black Widow constantly being delayed over the last year in an effort to keep fans interested, Marvel Studios gave us additional trailers, sneak peeks, and featurettes. All of these were majorly dissected as fans did their best to spot all the Easter eggs they could, and there were definitely quite a few moments, people, and objects that stood out in many of the clips we were shown, some of which might hint at the movie's biggest reveals. One of the cityscape shots in the trailers was that of Budapest, a famous city in MCU lore that we've never visited before in the franchise. The Marvel fandom knows the Hungarian capital well solely based on comments from Natasha Romanoff and Clint Barton in the Avengers and Avengers Endgame. We know the friends have a history in Budapest, but just what went down between them, or whatever mission they might have been on, is still a mystery. We also get our very first sneak peek at little Natasha Romanoff, which saw her alongside a young Yelena Belova and their adoptive father, Alexei. This was well before the girls went to the Red Room, which we learned about in Avengers Age of Ultron. It looks like we might see the terrible moment where the young girls are sent off to be mind-controlled against their will. Eagle-eyed fans have also noticed that a vest Yelena Belova is wearing in the trailer is the same one we see Natasha sporting in Avengers Infinity War. This suggests that Black Widow could directly lead into the third Avengers film, with not much time in between the two. When it was announced that Black Widow was going to be a prequel, some fans were disappointed since it might not bear any weight in the MCU. But remember, this is the first movie in Phase 4, and you can expect it to introduce us to new characters who will stick around moving forward. We're fully expecting Yelena Belova to be Natasha Romanoff's replacement in the MCU, much like we saw Anthony Mackie become the new Captain America in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're also expecting a little more backstory on Clint Barton, but still aren't sure about a possible cameo. Taking us to Budapest is almost a confirmation that Hawkeye will at least be mentioned in the movie, especially if Taskmaster has memorized his fighting style. This is all a great tease as to what we'll also see in the Disney Plus Hawkeye series. And while just a rumor at this point, Black Widow could also very well set up the Thunderbolts in the MCU. Both Baron Zemo and Thaddeus Ross have ties to the group of reformed supercriminals, which is currently led by Taskmaster in the comics. Black Widow is going to be so much more than a prequel, and fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe should be extremely excited for the film we've waited far too long to see. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about the Marvel Cinematic Universe are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.